All right. Again, that might happen. I can imagine that there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people on Zoom. And that may have been the cause. So my apologies. Anyway, I'm back here. And this is the MusicFirst platform. This is the teacher view. And hopefully you've received your login credentials by now. If you haven't, please be patient. We'll get them to you as soon as we can. So what I'd like to do now is show you some how to create some tasks. I'm going to click on the training class. I created this class just for this series of training webinars. Again, thanks for being patient, not jumping off. I see I lost a few people, but that was interesting. So I'm in the classroom space. You always know you're in the classroom by the it says right here, training class. Right, so whatever class you're in, if I click on, teaching music classes online, I know I'm in that class. So if it's your 7th grade band, it would say 7th grade band there. So whatever classes, if you did go through the request process and received your credentials, you should see that class right there. So what I'm going to do today is focus entirely on creating tasks in software. So the first thing I'm just going to go right down the list. The way to create a task, and a task, just so we're all clear, is like a homework assignment for your kids. Create task. And really, in terms of frequency, think of doing 1 task per week maximum with your students to get started. So this one is going to be called, let's see, actually, I'm going to pick, let's do Aurelia. I'm going to do ear training quiz, okay, with Aurelia. Now, Aurelia is a great ear training software title. It works a little bit differently than everything else. Again, if you have access to Aurelia, I need to show you how this works, and Musician works in exactly the same way. So I'm going to say, take this ear training quiz. To Larry, yeah, I'm basically covering different software today than I did yesterday, and every software title is different. So I think you'll get something out of it for sure. So I've put in a description, take this ear training quiz, very, very specific. I'm going to put in a due date, and I'll say that will be next Friday. I can, of course, make it invisible to students. The default is that it's automatically visible. And I could assign it to only specific students if I want, groups of students, or to all students, which is what I'm going to pick. I already did all this yesterday, so I'm going to go right down here, add it to my gradebook. And any of our software titles, when you do a task, they all grade on a scale of 1 to 100. So make sure that the maximum points when you're doing a software task are at 100. Best practice. You don't have to, but it makes a lot more sense when you do it that way. So I'm clicking Create Task. Again, I've just made an ear training quiz, or I want to make an ear training quiz in Aurelia. The most important thing to remember on all software quizzes, or on all software tasks, is you're not done when you get to this page where it looks like you're done. Ear training quiz, it's due here. You must open it in that software title. Most important thing, and we get that all the time, people forget to click this. The reason I need to do that is I'm making a specific task and giving them a specific ear training quiz. So I'm going to click Open in Aurelia. Now, Aurelia and Musician are different than all of our other software titles in that there's a desktop version only for the teacher. And you have to use that desktop version if you want to assign students quizzes. So I get there, I click Open Aurelia. It opens up. All right, so Aurelia loads. Very good, taking a little time, but I think we're all patient. Okay, so now it is loaded. You will never see, on the left-hand side here, these are all the quizzes that are available. You will not see all of this stuff up here. You will only see these down here, Aurelia First quizzes, beginner, intermediate, introductory. So I'm gonna do an introductory quiz, right? That's what I want to do. Now you can create custom quizzes. There are videos that will show you in our tutorial section how to do that, For now, I'm just going to be using the quizzes that come with Aurelia because I don't have time on a webinar to make an ear training quiz. So I've got a couple of things here. It says interval comparison level 1. And so the name of this quiz is interval comparison level 1. And I can, let's see here. I've got one entry. Let me see how many, let me click on entries here, just to show you what all this looks like. So it's opening up. Come on, Aurelia, you can do it. Now, Juliana or Tori, if you have other suggestions and want to type those in the chat box, you can go ahead. I don't actually need to open up all these entries, but there are tutorials on how to do it. So it'll say there's interval comparison, it's level 1, MusicFirst introductory, there are 10 questions. The intervals that the students will be hearing are perfect fifths and octaves. That's it. So can they hear a perfect fifth or an octave? Well, that sounds good to me. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click attach. In every single instance that you use software for a task, you must find the attach button. And sometimes it's a Where's Waldo situation, if you will. So in this case, I am doing this interval comparison, level 1, and I click attach. It says, you're about to attach the comparison quiz to your ear training quiz. Is that something you want to do? Well, yes, it is. Right? So I made a task in the MusicFirst classroom. I picked the quiz from the pre-made quiz menu. Then I clicked attach. Right? Once I've done that, I can quit out of Aurelia. I'm going to do that. I come back in here, and now that should be good to go. So let me show you what it looks like from a student's perspective. I'm going to switch over, refresh, and it says there's an ear training quiz for me to do. So this is what the students will see. By the way, these are all things I made yesterday in yesterday's training, but we didn't talk about Aurelia, so we'll click on ear training quiz. Take this ear training quiz. The students will have to click on open in Aurelia. They click it. It should bring them directly to that interval training quiz. It might do what I'm thinking it's going to do, where I have to agree. Yep, I have to agree. Yeah, I get it. All right, doing all that. Yeah, I agree. Students will have to do that the very first time they open it. But once I've done that, it should bring me right to that quiz. And it says ear training quiz. Well, it worked. I'm very excited. I click on start. Second interval, smaller or larger? The second was larger. Submit. Good, next. The first interval was larger. Submit. So I see that I'm getting 100. I'm very excited. If I got the answer wrong, it would let me know, and I could do it as many times until I got it right. Okay, so the second interval was larger. Just for time's sake, I'm going to go quickly as I can through this. Okay, halfway through. I'm going to get this one wrong, just to show you what it looks like. Again, a lot of people ask us, well, why wouldn't I use something like musictheory.net? Well, let me show you in a minute. It's just keeping track of my score. And that's great. It will auto-populate my gradebook when I'm done. Okay, so I'm all done with my quiz. I click next. It says your task is complete, and I can log out and get rid of it. All right, so I did mine. I'm all finished. I feel good about myself. I come back here as a teacher, and I'm going to click refresh. And you'll see here in the grade book, it looks like nobody did anything. And that's because I used one of these usernames yesterday. And it happens to be the very last username on the list. So if you want to see who's done with their work, just click on task status, and that sorts the list so that the kids who are finished are up on top. So the account I just used, Music Student, I got a 90%. It auto-graded it for me. I do not need to grade it. If I want to see what they did, I can click on the little paperclip. It opens up directly to that student's score page. Oops, cancel. I'm going to launch the browser. And it will bring me right to that student's quiz. All right, so that's how a Aurelia task works. Musician works exactly the same way, right? You have to, the very first time that you open up, let's do this, the very first time you open up Musician, you will see these two buttons once it loads. Do you want to launch the software? Do you want to launch the browser? Okay, very quick in case you've never used these programs before. You're going to want to download for Mac or Windows, depending on your machine. If you're on a Chromebook, you only will have the option to launch the browser. And if you're on a Mac, if you're on a Chromebook as a teacher, you're not going to be able to assign quizzes, at least to my knowledge. Juliana or Tori may be able to back me up on that. So you can download the appropriate software, right? And then once you've downloaded that software, never open that software from the desktop. Always launch it from here. Hopefully that makes sense. I'll show you again. Never launch it from, like, don't go find it in your Finder. Oh, where's Aurelia? Go to the Software tab, click Musician, and you can launch it from here. The only time that downloaded software will work. If I launch the browser version, it will get me directly into the browser. I just can't assign any student work in here. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's the first software, and actually the second as well. I've shown you an Aurelia quiz. Musician is exactly the same thing, just a different color. So you'll have to trust me on that one. Yesterday I went over focus on sound, so I'm not going to do that one today. Instead, I'm going to shift to note flight. So I'm in my training class. I'm going to create a task. And I'm going to call this Compose Your Own Warm-Up Exercise. Okay. What type of task is this? It's MusicFirst software. It's going to be a note flight task. And I will say compose a 4-measure melody for your instrument as a warm-up exercise. Okay. Very, very easy. A lot of really easy for me, not so easy for the kids. When is this due? Let's make it due next Friday. I'm going to skip the standards. I'm going to make this worth 100 points. I'm going to click Create Task. So now I'm in exactly the same situation I was in a minute ago with Aurelia. I have to actually open it in NoteFlight, and this is a template task. I'm going to set up a score for them. So I'm going to click Open in NoteFlight. It launches NoteFlight and logs me directly into it, to my account. I'm then going to create a brand new exercise for my students to do. So I'm clicking Create. And please watch very carefully the next thing, this bit, because some people forget about a button called Score Details, which is important. So I'm going to set this up as a treble clef exercise. I said it was 4 measures long, and I'm going to type in warm up exercise. Okay. I'm going to put in a prompt. I want to put in some instructions for the students. So I'm going to go to the hamburger menu or the hot dog menu, depending what you call it. Go to Text and look up Show Prompt. Click Show Prompt. There we go. I'll make that go away. I click on the prompt, and I'm going to say, Step 1, add your instrument to this score. Step 2, compose add a key signature. Step 3, compose a 4-measure warm-up exercise. By the way, I mean, this is a template task. There are tons of pre-made tasks in NoteFlight, so don't worry. But I just wanted to show you kind of an idea, a warm-up exercise. Here we go for the kids. So I think I'm done. This is the most important thing with Noteflight coming up right now. If you just click attach to this page, it will not work. So the very first thing you need to do is go to score details. Score details are extremely important with Noteflight because in the score details page is a thing called share. So I click on share. It says this score is currently not shared. That means that if I were to click attach to page and assign it to the students, it would give them an error message when they click on it. So you must go to share first and click share score. And then it says who can access this score? Well, everyone, all of my students can. But the most important button of all is right here. Make this score an activity template. A lot of people forget about this as well. Once you've done that and click save, now this is almost ready for the kids to do it. The last step is clicking this save button. Now, the good news is that if you forget any of what I'm talking about today, there are tutorial videos on how to do exactly this thing on our platform. So let me just ask you all to mute yourselves. I think somebody is unmuted, if you wouldn't mind doing that. So once I've shared the score and saved the score, I'm ready to attach it. So I click attach to this page, right? It gives me a confirmation. And I should be good to go. So I'm going to say goodbye to that. I'm going to come over here to the student. I'm going to click on the class. There's a compose your own warm-up exercise. I click on that. I open it in Noteflight. And it brings me directly to the score that I just created. Warm-up exercise. So I'm going to do it. Oh, I'm very excited. That's a wonderful warm-up exercise. Very happy about that. So if I'm done, if the student's done, they just click save, and then they click turn in this score. Are you sure? Yes, I am. So I can get rid of that, close this window, and I'm going to go back in to see what it looks like as a teacher. I refresh the page on this task page, and I say, oh, nobody handed it in. Remember, click task status. That will bring up the people who are finished first. Now, it gave me an auto score of 100. That's because Noteflight doesn't really have the ability to look at that warm-up exercise and give them a grade. So it automatically spits back a 100. Don't worry, the students don't see that yet. I have to go in as a teacher and click on it, and it will bring me directly to that student's work. There it is. And I can give them their grade right in here. I can also add comments. I can go here and go to the text menu and add some annotations, whatever I want. I can change it. But I think this is so good. I'm going to give the kid a 95 because they added or they forgot to delete this measure. I'll click submit grade. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Right? I'll say goodbye. I come back here. I refresh the task page. Right? And now it's a 95. I can then give the student a comment that says, I took off 5 points because you had an extra measure. That's pretty mean, but I'll do it anyway. Haha. Right? So that's a Noteflight task. Now, there are many different types of tasks you could do in Noteflight. Again, you can look at previous content you've created and attach that. But that score details and sharing, as well as the save, are very, very important in terms of making those tasks successful. A couple more tasks to show you. I'm going to go into clear or create task. Moving on to another one. I'm going to look at the software that's available, and now we'll do, let's do a practice first, just for time's sake. I don't know if I'll be able to get to OGenerator today. Practice first task is what I'm going to call this. I'm going to make this a practice first task, and I'm going to say, choose your favorite piece of music and perform it. That's it. About as simple as so this is not a specific task, this is a generic task. I just want the kid to go in and find a piece of music that they like to play, have them play it, and submit it for grade or for assessment, right? Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to say this is going to be due next Friday as well. Not tagging it to any standards. I'm going to make it worth 100 points. Again, all software tasks should be 100 points, best practice. And I click attach or create task. Now that I'm there, I remember, oh yeah, I always have to open the software, so I do that. And this is what I love about MusicFirst, or one of many things I love, is that I can just click create generic assignment right here. I'm going to click that because I want the students to go in and find a piece they want. I don't want to give them a specific piece. So I click create generic assignment and it says okay, and I'm done. That's all I needed to do. Watch what this looks like now for the student. MusicFirst task, click. It says here, choose your favorite piece of music and perform it. Open in MusicFirst. It brings me into the main menu as a teacher, and it says choose the piece you want to play. Right? That's pretty easy. I'm going to pick something for voice. All Virginia chorus audition material. Oh my goodness. That looks too hard. I don't want to sing that. I don't know it. Let's do NISMA sight singing exercise, level 1, exercise 1. I'm going to choose bass. And I am going to make sure that when I'm recording, I want the metronome on. Kids can do all of that. When you give a generic assignment, they have the ability to change all of this stuff, which is good. So I'm going to click record. It's going to give me a measure for nothing as well as a starting pitch. Do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, so, fa, mi, re, do. I'm pretty happy with that. It gave me a score. Well, I didn't see the score, but there we go. I can mouse over it and see what I've done wrong. I can decide whether or not this is good enough to turn in. I'm going to click submit that to the teacher. I'm pretty happy with it. Submit to teacher. By the way, I can redo it as many times as I want, but I'm going to click, no, I'm fine. I thought that was great. Submit to teacher. Are you sure? Yes, I am. All right, there we go. I'm going to go back in as a teacher now. And I'm going to click task status. And I got an 87%. As a teacher, I didn't have to grade that, which is really nice. If I click on the submitted work, it will take me exactly to that student's recording, so I can go in and hear it. Do, re, mi, fa, so. Nobody likes hearing themselves, but if I think that an 87 was too harsh, I can close this, come back in here and change it. I'll make that a 90. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, unfortunately, and with this many people on a webinar, I can't do every single type of MusicFirst task. There are some pretty awesome advanced options. I would urge you all, just in the interest of time, if you do have some time, and hopefully you do, you click on the question mark, click on tutorials, and if you search for MusicFirst, if I just do the find practice first, there's how to use MusicFirst, a tutorial video. It's 9 minutes and 4 seconds long. Our director of support and training, Juliana Matejko, made it. It's fantastic. So you can watch that on your own. Again, we've got dozens and dozens of these tutorial videos. So don't think if you miss it on this training webinar that you're lost. Just click on that question mark. The user guide is just a user manual. So it's text-based, but it does have photos and videos and all that kind of stuff as well. It's pretty cool. Right, so I'm back here as a teacher, and I'm going to make